Video is good. Okay. Great. So good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining in. Today's topic is the future of AAC, empowering voices through technology. Panel discussion. So on account of International AAC Awareness Month, our goal has been to raise awareness around augmentative and alternative communication. So Subodha, on behalf of Subodha, I invite you all to join us in celebrating and spreading awareness about AAC, not only this month, but all year. Thank you for joining in, and let's get started. So today's panel discussion will span across three themes. One is we'll base a discussion on the current state of AAC in India, what has worked, what has been working, and where improvements are needed. And secondly, we'll look at AAC from the lens of UDL, Universal Design for Learning. And then we have the technology expert who's going to highlight the exciting developments that are on the horizon in the technology space. So let's get started. I'm delighted and happy to have different stakeholders in the AAC space. We have a technology expert, we have a speech language therapist, and AAC user and an advocate joining us today. So let me begin by introducing myself. My name is Anjana Satyabodha. I'm a speech language therapist with over 15 years of experience. In the past few years, I have intensively been working in the assistive technology, particularly in the augmentative and alternative communication space, providing clinical services. I have worked closely with the AWAS team in creating professional AAC courses, ACAP and ACE, for SLPs and special educators. I am the founder of Subodha, an organization, a startup that caters to individuals with little or no clear speech. You can find out more about the organization and about myself by visiting the website. Our vision is to make communication accessible to all. I'm happy and thrilled to invite our panelist, Mr. Narayanan Ramakrishnan. He is the CEO of Awaz Inc., a company that creates assistive technology products to empower children and their caregivers. After completing his master's in computer science from Georgia Institute of Technology, Atlanta, he worked with meetup.com in New York and chose to return to India to work on building and scaling assistive technology products at Awaz Inc. He loves building technology products that solve a real-world problem and also impacts people's lives positively. He has built other AT solutions as well, including FJ Typer, a desktop-based touch typing tutor software for the visually impaired, and a wearable glove that enables people to learn music while enjoying rehabilitation exercises. Narayanan, welcome to the discussion today. A warm welcome to you, and looking forward to your inputs as a technology expert.
Thank you so much, Anjana. Thank you.
Our next panelist is Ms. Deepika Gopal Rao. She's a speech language pathologist with masters in audiology and speech rehabilitation from University of Mumbai. She has 3 decades of experience in India, US, and the UAE. She serves her current role. She serves as a program leader, therapy and specialist services, and head Department of Communication, Language and Speech at Allur Center for People of Determination. She is also a Fulbright research scholar. She serves on the as an advisory board for bachelor's degree at Gulf Medical University. Deepika, looking forward to your inputs as being part of the leadership team and also as an SLP. Welcome to today's panel discussion.
Thank you, Anjana. Thank you.
Our next, I'm excited to introduce our next panelist, Ms. Aditi Saumya-Narayan. She is an award-winning writer and an avid blogger. She's a 19-year-old non-speaking autistic individual who uses technology to communicate. Fiction, she's author of fiction novella With You Right Through, which has won the Best Manuscript Award. Aditi's collection of short stories, Small Stories, Big Thoughts, was launched to positive reader reviews from many quarters, including the Stanford Neurodiversity Project. Aditi is passionate about raising awareness about non-speaking autism and alternative modes of communication. She's made a video presentation for the United Nations World Autism Awareness Day. Aditi is a member of the steering committee of the Indian chapter of ION, Institute of Neurodiversity, a Europe-based not-for-profit organization. As a freelance writer, Aditi writes for blogs, for Awaaz Megaphone, for India Autism Center, and for Soul's Arc about inclusive education and for autistics, and with greater emphasis on non-speaking autism. She was adjudged the Fellow of the Fellowship at the YLAC Artivist Fellowship 2023. She regularly blogs on stepbigthought.blogspot.com. Aditi, delighted to have you. Welcome to today's panel discussion.
Hi, happy to be here. Hi, happy to be here.
Thank you. So let's dive right in. So we all know that the journey of buying an AAC app is a complex and a long journey, right? And my first question is to Mr. Narayanan from Awaaz. So in that regard, looking back at Awaaz's journey in the realm of AAC, particularly in the last 5 to 6 years, could you share what approaches have worked, what implementation approaches have worked? And I know that as a company, you had to and you continue to have to invest not only in helping people use the app, but also enable the ecosystem around the child, which includes the professionals, various professionals, parent community, and so on. So can you please share about what has worked and what approaches have worked, and how a little bit of reflection, could you reflect on that, please?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Anjana, and good evening, everyone, and really excited to be part of this discussion. So kind of just looking back at the last few years, I think to be very honest, we started off as a product company, right? We'll build this fantastic technology that will help people communicate, and then everyone will be using it. And that's a nice vision to have. But technology it does bridge the gap, but it can go only so far, because at the end of the day, technology gets used by humans. So there's a entire ecosystem around an AAC user that we need to also keep in mind. So I think for the first few years, when we were building ours, we had a lot of thought about what is the right kind of technology to build such that the product is valuable, is useful for the AAC user. Then over a period of time, it started refining that thought of how, while we have this product, how do you start building adoption? How do you start building training so that all the stakeholders around that AAC user can also are equally invested in the success of that system itself, right? So I think what has really worked for us in the past few years is that right after COVID, we started doing these online training sessions for speech therapists, special educators, parents. So we were kind of, during COVID, we were doing these webinars, doing running mini WhatsApp groups, and offering a lot of resources for parents during that kind of like the lockdown period, etc. What we really saw valuable there was that it kind of brought in a lot of curiosity. So a lot of speech therapists started coming in, a lot of special educators started coming in. Okay, what can we do with AAC? How to start using AAC? I think that awareness has really grown in the last 5-6 years. It has been supported obviously by the rise of the internet and kind of internet usage, and the fact that mobile phones are much more accessible, and generally awareness growing. But then this group of special educators, speech therapists who are now looking at AAC as an option, and then finding resources with ours, with other companies, and getting trained on how to use AAC. That's been kind of one very big plus. The other key factor, which sometimes I think we take for granted, is the fact that there is a small community of AAC parents and even kind of advocates growing, right? So that AAC parents, or when I say parents, I mean families who have a child or a person using Abbas. Now that community for us has grown significantly in the last few years, and it's very exciting to see when a parent might ask, like very recently, a parent asked, um, uh, is there anyone who does independent communication using Avaz? Are there? So then the entire kind of like conversation around that started happening, wherein parents came back with their kind of like sharing some photos, sharing some stories as to what their child is doing. And so while you have the professional support system, you also need this kind of like a more parent focused support system as well, right? Like that community as well, which is important. So if you look at it, that's the entire kind of our hypothesis has been that we want to design for the entire ecosystem. While you have the product, which is a technology product to begin with, but can you build such that that gets used effectively with the AAC user at the center, gets used by the speech therapist, special educator, gets used by the parent at home, maybe the extended family at home, and then going forward to even governments and kind of like at kind of like different levels of usage across the economic spectrum as well. So that's kind of like how we are kind of visualizing that. And I think a lot of our current increase in usage of AAC is thanks to parents kind of like being much more kind of much more coming forth and saying that I want my child to have voice. I want my child to talk about communication. I think that's been a very optimistic part of it. And obviously, more the role models they see by someone like Aditi and Tarun, people like them, it really helps.
Right. So it's been quite a journey, and shared by a lot of stakeholders, and it's a very interdependent community and kind of work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. So I have similar question to our next panelist, Ms. Deepika. So Deepika, you have been a witness and part of an organization that has grown over the years in the AT and AAC space. So with that as a background, so we are looking forward to hearing from you, your inputs as to what has worked and how what were the factors contributing to that kind of success. And I'm aware that Alnur system takes in children and young adults, and I think of all ages, spans across lifespan. They take in individuals with complex communication needs. So when we look at individuals with complex communication needs, the technology is also complex, right? So enabling that and working around that is also, it takes a lot of effort. So would like to hear from you as to what approaches and what are the factors that has helped your organization grow. And also looking at the cultural similarities between India and the Middle East. So looking forward to hearing from you as well.
Right. Thank you, Anjana. Am I audible to everyone? Yes. So thank you, Anjana, for having me. It's indeed an honor to be amidst a stellar panel of Aditi, and Narayanan, and I'm delighted to be here. And thank you to all the audience who have registered and are attending in such large numbers. So with regard to the organization I represent, Al-Noor Training Center, we're located in Dubai. And I think we've been the pioneer in early adoption of AAC and assistive technology in the UAE itself, if not for the wider Middle East region. One of the things that we pride ourselves in is that AAC is a way of life for us at Al-Noor. So within the Al-Noor community, it's something that you would see everywhere, all around. To answer your specific question as to what has worked for us as an organization, as a center, so over the years, we are a 43-year-old organization serving people with disabilities in the age range of 4 years upwards until 35. So yes, we do implement a lifespan approach in our service delivery. So what has worked for us are several key, and the word that you use is very important, interrelated and interdependent factors. And to take on what Narayan mentioned about the ecosystem. So a couple of points that I want to highlight here is that we do strongly believe in a whole center, whole organization approach to service delivery in the field of AAC as well as an AT. It's a top-down model where there is a complete belief in the individual's right to communicate and access to communicate, unhindered access to communicate, because we strongly believe it's a value for us that communication is a basic human right. So when there's a top-down approach, then there is a cascading trickle-down effect through the layers of the organization, which has worked for us over a period of time. And this is what I think I'm in a position right now to advocate for anyone who's listening out there. In addition to this overarching philosophy that we have, a couple of other philosophies that have worked for us is that we employ a transdisciplinary approach to service delivery. So as you rightly mentioned, the individuals whom we serve are very diverse in terms of the level of the disability, the complexity of the disability, the number of conditions that they may have, and the rarity of the conditions they may have. So typically, each of our students, the ones whom we serve, have about more than 12 to 13 members or interventionists that serves as a team that works with them, and many, many more who are also associated with them. So by this, you can well imagine the number of communication partners an individual at Al-Noor will have. So the effort is to ensure that each of those communication partners is well-trained, well-coached, well-aware, starting with well-aware, well-trained, well-coached in the AAC usage. So which means what in real practical terms? So it would mean the use of various AAC intervention techniques, such as modeling, aided language input, ensuring that communication attempts are, you attribute meaning, you reflect on what the individual is experiencing, and you provide wait times, you provide pauses. So these are all strategies and techniques that we strive to cascade through the multi-tiered organizational layer, which means we have invested a lot and we continue to invest a lot in staff training, skill upgrades. If it isn't for ensuring that we have created an enabling ecosystem within the organization where all stakeholders are equally involved, we will not see the uptake of the use of AAC in a widespread manner. So coming to caregivers and parents, so there's an ongoing effort to look at parental engagement, ensuring that parents have the right resources, the right information, dispelling myths. So all of this actually fosters a culture where we're looking at a systemic change for individual success. So you're looking at the system as a whole. By creating that systemic change, you are actually facilitating individual success. And one of the things that's impacted increasingly in the recent years has been the neurodiversity affirming framework, where the AAC user advocates for himself or herself and is at the front and center of all decisions that are made about the person. So yeah, so these are some of the aspects that have worked for us. And I'll probably share some more as the panel discussion proceeds.
Yes, I totally resonate. I can relate to that. Having a team approach and the top-down approach coming from the leadership, the whole school approach, making sure that everybody is, following it. And the neurodiversity affirming practice was a major breakthrough. So that's when we started listening to the users and improvising everything. So yes, thank you. So my going back to Narayanan. So we have heard about the Tamil Nadu initiative of giving out free tabs, and your team has been involved in training various people, parents and parent community and the educators. So is that, can you share a little more about that? And then is that a model that other states in India can also implement? Because government coming in and helping the initiative is a very crucial factor, I believe.
Yeah, sure. I think so kind of to just set background, the Tamil Nadu government has been sort of like the almost like is the most progressive in terms of thinking about assistive technologies, in specifically from my understanding so far and speaking to other governments and stakeholders. We kind of historically they've done a lot with retrofitted scooters, kind of giving out different kinds of appliances. So over the last, I think over the last 3 years, we've distributed close to about 600-700 devices of like ours on a device with the kind of like the casing, etc., to educational centers like special education centers which are funded by the government, and kind of like vocational, some of them being vocational training units, some of them being early intervention centers as well. And these are devices which have kind of basically have the app installed, and then we've gone ahead and delivered on kind of like the in each of around 38 districts of Tamil Nadu. And what we did then after distribution was basically in kind of like 6 zones, we did an entire day of training of AAC training. And with ours as an example, we gave special educators, mostly special educators, and then a set of speech therapists who are employed by the Tamil Nadu government. The speech therapists actually went through our kind of like ours certified professional course. It's at the ACAP course itself. And the special educators, we did like a 1-day training. Obviously, that was just a 1-day training to kind of like do the introduction. Then we funneled all of them into a WhatsApp group. And then that's where we kind of like keep kind of answering any questions and offering any kind of guidance there. I think as a start, what has happened is that people are now seeing, oh, this is an option. There is a solution like this. I think that has kind of raised that kind of awareness at the government level, and then at the implementation level, right? From the district, for the district officer, the school there in that district. So it's now not only in Chennai, Bangalore, it's in kind of Tirunelveli and kind of Thoothukudi, and like all the tier 1, tier 2 cities also coming into the frame, right? So which is huge. And the way they use the app is obviously they depending on, so for example, there are cases where they do a lot of ADL sort of activities for daily living sort of usage with the app. So it depends. We've done training, but they also kind of try to fit it into their existing scheme, right? That's a much better way to do it than force it down. Look, you should be doing this, right? So that's a slightly more organic way of doing it, which also ensures there's continued some sort of adoption as well. I think that's one key point. I also think that so we've now given these devices to schools, and so they remain in school. So sometimes they remain in just the cupboards as well, right? So those are things and mindsets that we continue to kind of like educate and continue to kind of like spread awareness about. It's okay because the way we have done it is the device has full protection. So even if they break the device, we will replace it. So that's the kind of contract we have entered with the government. So we have encouraged them to go ahead and break devices, saying it's okay. You use it as long as you use it and break a device, we are very happy to replace it. That's kind of like how we are trying to build that engagement. The next level of this, the next stage of this is actually identifying individual beneficiaries and giving them a device, which is sort of like the model sometimes, even in kind of like the United States and in Australia as well. This is slightly more the next stage where you're identifying an individual who is non-speaking and who may need a device, and you deliver it to them, specifically train the parents around them, take the partnership of like a school or an NGO there and help that training. So that's the next stage that we are looking to work with the state government. I think one basic thing in all of this is that, again, I think goes back to the training angle, right? So you can provide the best technology, but then unless we provide continuous training and continue to find ways to fit it into the kind of like the user's life rather than force fit it, I think the more we'll see adoption as well. But so we've now started speaking to other governments based on this. So we've spoken to the Karnataka government, we've spoken to the Telangana government. So there are some conversations ongoing, and we are very kind of like optimistic about taking this forward as well with other state governments.
It's so good to hear that. Hopefully, we will get similar activities be happening in other states of India as well. And like you said, it's so important to not go by one size fits all philosophy here. So we'll have to adapt it to the cultural context and how the living context of the users. So I have a similar question to Deepika. So Deepika, we've heard that the UAE government is also equally quite involved, and so how is the support? And I'm sure you also would agree that the government's support is very crucial in catering to not only the tier one, but that's the only way we can involve a lot more, and we can reach a lot more who are in need of assistive technology, AAC in particular.
In the UAE, as a nation, UAE was one of the earliest signatories to the UNCRPD, United Nations Conventions for the Rights of People with Disabilities. And there's been a steadfast commitment by the UAE leadership towards people with disabilities. In fact, here, people with disabilities are referred to as people of determination. Which is how we refer to, that's the way even Al-Noor is. We have aligned ourselves completely with the UAE leadership's excellent efforts and encouragement in this field. And this has enhanced the media coverage and thereby actually impacted public awareness. So Dubai is striving to be and is already a disabled-friendly country, and now it'll probably soon be the first autism-friendly destination on the Eastern Hemisphere. So that's something, again, it cannot happen without the government's involvement, commitment, and impetus. In terms of developing solutions, technology solutions, app-based solutions, again, innovation is something that's at the heart of the UAE government's policy. So we do have the Make It in UAE as a government policy. So a lot of projects and startups and in the field of assistive technology are there in the UAE now, and they're getting a lot of government support and funding. There's also social investment funds that have been set up to support such efforts. At Al Noor, I think we've been one of the earliest adopters of technology. We've actually in 2017 run a hackathon for assistive technology, for developing assistive technology solutions for people with disabilities. So that's way back in 2017. Even earlier than that, in 2008, 2011, around between those years, we were one of the earliest, I think we were the only center that ran an AAC awareness campaign in public places. So that again increased the awareness. So we asked students, yes, Aditi, welcome, 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 whenever you are here. So, AAC awareness campaigns that we ran in 2008, 2011, where our students and our team members went into malls, colleges, universities, and corporates, and the members of the public were able to interact with our AAC users in natural conversations. So they got a first-hand experience of what it is like to engage with AAC users. This was in 2008. So there is a long history here. And it's not possible if the government overall environment is not supportive.
Absolutely. So in order to tackle issues of affordability and scalability, the government has to pitch in. And yeah, Aditi says, nice to know. I now know my next vacation destination. Okay, nice to know. Okay, so I would like to bring in Aditi now. And so what we've done is we had sent the questions to Aditi beforehand, as when she communicates, she will share how she communicates using technology now. So just to speed up the process, we are going to play it out now. And I also have the text visible. So Aditi, the question to Aditi was to share, can you share what kind of technology you use to communicate? And she's shared a little bit about that. So let me play the audio.
I'm totally a technology person who needs technology to communicate and function effectively. I have conversations on Ava. Write on Pages in MacBook Pro. Use LinkedIn on my phone to network. Instagram and WhatsApp to connect with people besides email. I have set up alerts like those for hydration on my smartwatch.
So yeah, was that audible?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so thank you, Aditi, for sharing that. So moving on to next question. So India being a multilingual nation, so we have 22 recognized languages in India. So we are faced with a huge challenge of making our resources available in many different languages. So one of the questions we often get as professionals, we get this question, can we use, for example, can we use Ava's app in Hindi or Kannada or any home language? So, so from a technology standpoint, what solutions are available to solve this? And is it already available, or are we looking forward to, some solution? And when can we expect it? So, question to Narayanan.
Yeah. So I think so as a product right now, we have I think, to be very honest, a basic minimum support for some of the languages. So you can obviously customize Avas the way you fully want it. So you have support for text to speech in Hindi, to kind of like Marathi, Kannada, all of that is inbuilt into the app, wherein you have text to speech support. But it is also kind of dependent on what kind of vocabulary you want to add and kind of what kind of words that you want to add. So we initially used to have, even we continue to have the recording feature. So if you can create a a word or a set of words and then record your own kind of colloquial language as well. I think where we are right now in terms of just purely, if you look at AAC and kind of multilingual or like a multilingual, the multilingual piece is that there are I think there are three aspects to it, right? So one is the text to speech itself, right? So how does it sound? Like, is it sounding? Do you have technology which supports different different languages, and in those languages, different genders, different kind of accents? So that's one piece. Like, does it sound right? Else you're dependent on recording, and that's sort of limiting. So text-to-speech technologies, which can help in communicating in a much more accurate way, right? Like the way you speak Hindi is different in different places of India as well, right? So just as an example. I think the other angle is the whole language aspect of it. How does it work? So if you look at the current Avaz vocabulary, it's with English, you see, okay, like it's kind of like all the action words or the pronouns are on the left, then you have action words, then you have, so it's set up with the English grammar. There continues to be some sort of research that we need to do into how to set up similar language systems for Tamil, Hindi, Kannada, all of that, right? So that's the key research piece as well. There is some work that has started around this, and we really want to, and that's one of the things that we really want to reach out to, is have collaborations with other linguists, other speech therapists who are interested in developing like core word sets. Again, core words is an English language concept. We really need to also understand whether it translates to this particular language or not. Those are considerations that we need to know once we start kind of iterating on it. I think that's kind of like one. So I'll rephrase it. Core words is, I think the set of core words is an English concept, but core words language wise, it's kind of universal. Like, because I will use a certain set of words to communicate a lot of things. I think that principle is same, but what core words that we choose in Hindi or Tamil or Telugu would be very different as well. So, that's the kind of research that we need to do and find collaborators with it. And it is a multidimensional problem. We need people to come in and discuss about this, and we would love to have that collaboration, build that into it, build that kind of like a robust vocabulary for these languages into Avaz as well. And I think the third aspect is also, how do you bring in cultural nuance? When you say 22 languages, is also that there are like the diversity of India itself. So how do you bring in that cultural nuance? Some regions are have much more, say, joint families based. Much more, some regions are much more nuclear family. So it's, how do you kind of bring some of that cultural nuance? Those things are also, while we start designing, those are things that we'll have to start thinking about and kind of taking into account, because in a sense, that entire cultural context is very important for any AAC communication itself, right? Like, you don't want an AAC user to be completely out of context in a place. I think that's the key aspect to this. So the three aspects. So one is the speech, the text to speech. How do you kind of bring in that text to speech? The second is the vocabulary structure. How do you kind of build that language in a system that can be used? Also the grammar as well, right? Like grammar in Indian language is also very unique in that sense. So thinking about that, where we would love to have collaborations. And the third aspect is, how do you bring in some of the cultural nuances as well? So those are the three aspects that we are actively working on, and we hope to kind of like have something which like work together with people and bring something out that is really useful in the future. Yeah.
Right. So research is required
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
technology experts. And
Yeah.
like you said, it's not only languages. Every language has so many different dialects.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so the challenges are only, it gets bigger and bigger. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
And
and I think, Anjana, I think that while the challenges get bigger, but I also think that the current trend of technology, and maybe we'll get to this, like it is really solving, like it does really help, right? So some of these large language models and all of that that have come in will make this easier. So this jump can be made faster. I think that's the other kind of like aspect to this, right? It's technology has moved ahead, like as also kind of will help us bridge that gap much more faster. If we were having this discussion, say 3 years back or 2 years back, it would have been a very different kind of like the level of optimism might be slightly different.
right, so the emerging technology is going
Yeah.
to address that challenge. Yeah. So I have a similar question to Deepika. So how in UAE how many languages do you deal with, and how do you work around the linguistic diversity?
UAE is an extremely diverse population, multicultural, multi-ethnic, multinational, multilingual. So all the multis are in the UAE. And because the world is increasingly so globalized that most major cities of the world will look like how Dubai looks, or how any of the other big cities in the world look like. So as a speech pathologist, I think increasingly the new approach has been to not work around linguistic cultural diversity, but to embrace the linguistic and cultural diversity of the clients whom you serve. So and the best practice now for speech pathologists is to be culturally responsive towards their clients' linguistic heritage, cultural heritage, acknowledge that. And so the previous philosophy of use of one language, where it would homogenize the practice that we were engaged in, is no longer acceptable, because if you are looking at authentic communication, then it has to represent the individual's linguistic and cultural identity. And how can you do that if you do not yourself have that philosophy in your mind? And that again then translates to the AAC that you would use. So, and I completely agree with Narayan when he said that the large language models, or what we expect AI to do, is going to be absolutely groundbreaking, because that is going to solve the efforts that we would otherwise have put in to find these varieties of solutions for different languages, because AI hopefully will invest and do this faster and easier and in a more time efficient manner. And now with recognizing natural language acquisition and Gestalt language processors and how they communicate, we have to personalize AACs for them. And that again, we need to break the language barriers in our minds when we provide intervention. So it's up to us as speech pathologists to adopt and learn the languages of our clients and use technology again to help us to do that. Google Translate is there already. So we would need to do that to be able to provide that authentic communication to those whom we serve. For us in the UAE, Arabic is a primary language in addition to English. So there are a number of AAC apps in Arabic, and we also have Arabic as a language setting option in many apps. So we use that. And again, the question of dialectal versions is very relevant for Arabic, because each country in this region has their own Arabic dialect, and then there's standardized Arabic. So that again, there is a huge diversity within the Arabic language itself. So the native speakers of the Arabic language are looking for identifying with their dialectal variations as well.
Right. So we hopefully the emerging technology will minimize the language barrier, both in terms of from the user point of view, and also like you said, if we do not know the language, again it becomes a barrier. How we look for Kannada speaking therapist or Tamil speaking therapist, so probably we shouldn't be facing that challenge in the coming days.
Anjana, can I add one more thing? I think Deepika brought a great point here, that like how do you bring in authenticity? So some of those aspects of like the base aspects of like, you still need the kind of like the training, or you still need the kind of implementation support. That basic, that fundamentally will not change. How you do AAC intervention, you'll have tools to support, you'll have tools to support multilingual, bilingualism, all of that. But then how you do it fundamentally, that is not going to change. And I think that's kind of key. So while there is like more growing acceptance of languages to be involved and have that heterogeneity in kind of like speaking, but it doesn't fundamentally change that you still need solid AAC intervention strategy. So this is that's kind of like an important thing to keep in mind. Not like we like not go into like, oh, we have to do so many things for multilingualism and forget about that. I think this base of AAC intervention strategies, that continues to remain the same. I just wanted to kind of highlight based on what Deepika was also mentioning.
Right. It's good to know that we will not be totally replaced by technology.
Oh, far from it, far from it. I maybe I think we like again, since we are we are kind of in the thick of building some of these AI-based technology solutions. I think we don't like, we really want to use, the way we want to use AI is actually to give you like that nitro boost for your for if you're an AAC user. Can you communicate quickly? Can you communicate efficiently? Can you communicate in different contexts? Right, that's the kind of place where AI plays. If you are a therapist, if you're a special educator, can I save you 50% of your time? Where in India, one special educator is catering to 150 kids on an average. Can I make them cater to, say, well, like, can I give them enough time so that they are able to cater to them in a much more efficient way? So I think far from it, AI is going to help, at least in our community and AAC and special education. I can clearly see how AI can really help this current gap that we have in terms of number of people needing AAC interventions and number of professionals providing it and the kind of like support for it. I think that's how that's how we as a organization very strongly believe in that.
Got it. No, I just made that comment because when it comes to AI and all that, the conversation,
Yeah,
in the it leans towards, oh, is
correct.
it going to be something? But
Then
yes, pointed out, it's if it's going to fill the gaps, bridge the gaps, the need versus the the number of people who are available, it's definitely low in our country especially. So I think, yeah, and it's going to make everybody's job easier. I think that's really good. Okay, so we asked the same question, and we asked a question to Aditi. Let me just share that in this regard.
I'm totally a technology person who needs.
So we asked Aditi, do you wish to communicate in your home language? If that is a possibility. By possibility, we mean the technology supporting that possibility. So let's hear what she has to say.
I have always communicated in English, and in fact, that is the language I think in, but I understand my mother tongue, Tamil, and also Kannada and Hindi pretty well. I would love to communicate in these languages, but I am not sure how because I have not had much success with learning to read them, especially Tamil. I can read a bit of Kannada, basically from signboards.
So thank you, Aditi, for sharing. And the desire to express in multiple languages is something that all Indians share. So now moving on to the next theme of our panel discussion, which is UDL, the intersection of AAC and UDL. So my question is, so let's look at two aspects here. So how can we reduce stigmatization of AAC and make AAC a norm? So as we can see now, the mainstream technology is driving assistive technology. So there are many features, for example, text to speech, speech to text, and then there are many accessibility features that big companies like Apple and Microsoft are coming forward with. So which means that they're looking at mainstreaming some of the features that are going to be helpful for individuals with various support needs. So in that regard, so if we look at it from three angles, like implementation wise and technology wise, and as an end user, we'll listen into Aditi's perspective on it. So firstly, from a technology angle, what are the features that my question is to Narayanan. What are the features that you are looking at, which can make an AAC app be used in a classroom setting, which will benefit not only students with communication needs, but everybody? So are there such features that you're looking into?
I think one of the things I would love to highlight is like a lot of the mainstream technologies that we see have actually been built out of started off as assistive technologies, right? So text to speech, for example, is one of the key things, right? So text to speech, now we hear like our GPS talking to us. All of that started off because there was we wanted to kind of like have people who couldn't speak have an ability to have a voice as well. So there are many such, just a simple example, but there are many such innovation that we now consider quote unquote mainstream, that has started off as an assistive technology device. So in a sense, when you talk about kind of UDL or kind of universally designed learning, in ours, I think one of the very simple things that we have done is so ours has a keyboard that you can access at any point in time. There's a one touch keyboard. So with that keyboard, you have prediction, which is kind of like the very basic. So across the kind of like, if you're in a classroom, across the user student segment, you can use it, right? So they can use a keyboard whether if they are kind of at the wherever they are in their literacy journey, they can use the keyboard. So that's a very simple basic example. Then you add kind of a nuance to it, wherein, oh, if the child needs support for symbols, you can bring in support for symbols, turn off a setting to kind of have support for symbols. If the child is a phonetic speller, then you have a sort of a prediction setting for that as well. So if I spell coat as KOT instead of COAT, is that the app predicts accordingly. So it's so there are features built into ours where we try and support, which would kind of get used for all different kinds of kind of their learning needs, students' learning needs. One very interesting example that I wanted to share was, so the Avaz app has this feature where you tap on it and the picture enlarges, or what we call the zoom. So it zooms in and kind of it speaks out. So the idea was to have the audio and the visual reinforcement, and we built it out initially for CP users who could they know when to tap, and the tap has been registered because they're moving their hand. The tap has been registered. The image becomes big. Autistic users find it very useful as knowing that's what they have, and they get their focus on it. So that's one. Over the years, what we've realized is that it gets used by a lot of deaf kids because it gives them that visual reinforcement. And we had that's the kind of I think the design is that you make it accessible. Okay, this is audio reinforcement, there's visual reinforcement, and then you have students who are different learning capabilities and learning styles who are using it. It's very useful for kids who have low vision, and they are able to use that one feature as well. So there are these small things in ours that we kind of have built it for across the spectrum. And also, just to give like one of the examples of universally designed learning is also how that intervention happens, right? So for example, in the US, there is this system of multi-tiered eh, support systems, MTSS. So it's basically tier 1 where all students get support, right? So it could be a reading support, text prediction is a support, or they could get like Grammarly support, things like that, some simple things like that. So, or it could just be read aloud support. So there's one common level of support that everyone gets. So think about a low-tech AAC board for all students in the classroom, or an Avaz device for all students in the classroom. They can use it to communicate in different ways. So as that's a first layer of support. The next that you can do is for groups. You can have certain kind of like specific supports. So for a group of students who need switch access, a group of students who need any specific kind of reading access. That's the kind of second layer of support. The third layer of support is the individual. Okay, this individual needs an eye tracker that needs to be set, or a particular device using which they can select. So that's the kind of the more individualized support. So 3 levels of support. So what happens then is that, like, you have assistive technology all around you. Is just the how deep is it, or like how more customized it is for you? That's the kind of the difference there. So then technology is all around you. We're all using assistive technology for that matter. So that's, I think that's the key aspect here. So I think that's how the entire UDL kind of gets designed as well. And so that's an important aspect to keep in mind while designing our kind of products as well that we do.
Right. Very interesting, and thanks for highlighting the features that can be universally, can be used for all students in the classroom. Like you said, the keyboard features and the the other features that you mentioned. Aditi has a comment. She says the prediction is really good. Word prediction. Yeah. Right. So that's again something that all of us use. We have now become so dependent on that.
Yeah, I can't. I'll find it very hard to type without word prediction.
Right.
In fact, even Google's autocomplete.
Yes, that's right. And Deepika, so what are your inputs? What do you want to add on to this discussion?
So amazing points from Narayanan. So clearly, the whole philosophy of UDL is designed to destigmatize all things related to disability and all this technology and all the solutions that people with disability need. So that's the whole premise of embracing principles of UDL, which includes multiple ways to represent, multiple ways to express, multiple ways to engage, multiple ways to act, and so the idea of using and embracing and incorporating principles of UDL is such that everything becomes seamless, everything becomes normal. So then where's the stigma then? Should be no stigma then, because everyone's doing it to a greater or lesser extent. So for us at Alnoor, with regard to AAC per se, we advocate for AAC to be used across all routines, across home, community, and of course the center. So we do walk the talk as far as home is concerned, as far as community is concerned. So, and there are several high-tech and low-tech examples that we have done over the years. So, for example, we have communication placemats, and we have, we have AAC on swimming float boards. We ensure that AAC users, there is no difference for us between AAC users and non-users. So they are participating in all the activities. So if there's an elocution competition, everyone participates in the same way. So our AAC users are participating in all the social cultural activities at the center. So for our adult students who are transitioning to the workplace or who are being trained to transition to the workplace, they go for internships as part of their training. They access community services in community areas. So for example, they're taken on shopping, they're taken on, to build life skills, they're taken to malls, food courts. So their AAC goes with them and they're communicating using their AACs in the shopping mall, while buying food at the food court. while interning at a particular hotel in the laundry section, they're using their AAC. So as a result of this widespread usage across various settings, we are already destigmatizing the use of AAC, in addition to the fact that the technology is allowed for that destigmatization in the first place. It's how we have ensured that we are proactively doing it across different settings. So in the home, at the center, and in the community. So, and like I think I mentioned earlier, we have run awareness campaigns. And one of the things that we've really consciously invested in is desensitizing the community towards, not desensitizing, sensitizing the community towards people with disabilities by ensuring that they're front and center in all our interactions. So, you know, building that sensitiveness towards people around, and that's something that we've been doing. So, yeah. I think, yeah, I've covered all the points that I had thought of with regard to how we've worked on destigmatizing.
Yes, agree with you. So if there is, I mean, we have done as well. So to give you an example, one of the during a Christmas play, the nativity story, the whole thing was narrated by a non-speaker using the AAC app. So so we just have to change the mindset there, that how do we involve a non-speaker instead of thinking that way. Look at ways of involving and increasing the participation of non-speakers as well. Aditi has a comment. Aditi says, yeah, exactly what I use is what you use. That is the beauty of technology. That's a good comment, Aditi. Teslin says the cough drop app also has the highlight feature. Yes, yes, a common feature across AAC apps. So Aditi has something to share on how what she thinks about breaking the stigma and making AAC a norm.
I have always communicated in English, and in fact,
Sorry. Yeah, I'll come back to Aditi's answer. Meanwhile, I have some pictures to share that has been shared by Deepika. So when we look at when we talk about making AAC a norm and something that can be used across settings, so there are some good examples here that we can look at. I would like making AAC as ubiquitous as possible. So Deepika, would you like to just
so basically here, one of our speech pathologists is using on an apron symbols to pull out and use. So that's an apron that's used in any home, and that's something that we encourage our family members to do as well. So here, one of our students is using an app in a cafe. This is part of a role-playing event. This is way back in 2020. Then here, there is low-tech AAC on the wristband. So, so some of the word symbols are on the wristband. Then, yeah, this is the float board I was talking of. So, yeah. Then this is the placemat. Again, easy to do low-tech solutions.
And this is something that can be implemented by schools. So it's going to be useful for all children, right? Especially in the preschool and primary settings. So having these kinds of placemats, meal mats is going to be, I mean, it's going to help make it seem like it's something that can be used by all.
Then these are again aided language displays for different purposes, for routines, for activities. This is one of our students' home where they have used low-tech AAC, again, making it natural and routine. We've modified one of our students' cushions so that they can use this cushion when they're sitting with the family and lounging around and communicating as naturally as possible. So then again, this is on a t-shirt. Yeah, so these are some examples.
There's some more pictures that I would like to share.
Aditi has a wonderful comment. Yes, recently this was all over on the internet, where a dad tattooed the alphabet on the arm for them. So this is how again the keyboard accessibility.
Sorry.
Yeah, with a mount. Then again, these are easy to do things that can be done in a nursery.
So here, it reflects the adaptations that you've made for different AAC needs users. And also sharing this from an intention that we have different participants here today. So hope, we take note of this and try to, we just wanted to share ideas across the communities.
The tactile object symbols, and yeah.
Right, the tactile object symbols for
those with low vision and cerebral vision impairment.
Thank you for sharing the pictures. So now moving on to the next theme of our panel discussion, which is technology, the exciting part. So we'll look at what new advancements are, what can we expect, and we also have some things that Aditi would like to share from a user's perspective. Play that out first. So so this is with regard to the previous question. Aditi's suggestions on reducing stigma around AAC use and making it seem as normal as possible. So let's hear Aditi's perspective on this.
I aspire to see the use of AAC become as matter of fact as the use of Indian Sign Language or Braille. No one questions their use, maybe because there are no misnomers or stigma associated with it, unlike ARC, where sadly, even some professionals promote the myth that introduction of AAC will take away the initiative to talk, and that is such a fallacy. Addressing these myths systematically should, hopefully, reduce the stigma around AAC.
Thanks, Aditi. So we asked Aditi some questions related to technology features. So what specific features of the technology you use are most beneficial to your writing process? Because Aditi is an avid, she's an author and blogger as well. So Aditi is a fan of predictive text, right, Aditi? I use predictive text very extensively, not just in my writing, but also in my communication because I type on the keyboard. While having conversation, I use predictive text extensively on social media, even when I use WhatsApp, because I'm a Gen Z, and she also says she's a grammar Nazi. So she likes to use full words in her messages. So she says this feature is a lifesaver, otherwise it will take me 2 years to finish writing a small novella. I do not use other features except the screen reading feature on Mac when I'm reading something dry or theoretical. And we also asked her what challenges do you encounter with the technology you use when invited to speak at events? So let's hear what she has to say.
I'm able to speak at events or generally just speak, all thanks to technology. I haven't faced any significant challenges so far, except maybe this once when I was interviewed for an audio podcast. The obvious choice was for me to talk with Avan. But I was hitting the word limit every single time before I could finish saying what I wanted to. So I ended up typing on a document, which works well when there is a video, but in this case, since it was just an audio, the host had AI voice read out what I typed. This is, of course, sorted in the latest version of Avan that I'm using now. This has no word limit.
Okay, so she says the challenge has been addressed. Okay, so now coming back to technology. What emerging technologies? I mean, we hear a lot about AI and machine learning. Question to Narayanan. So, how do you think that will shape the future of AAC? And also, what new tools or platforms can really be the game changer for AAC? And how do we make sure that is accessible? Again, accessibility in India.
Yeah, actually, it's a really exciting time to be.
Also, would like,
Sorry, go
also,
ahead.
what do you have to comment on Aditi's responses?
Yeah, I'm gonna add to that. I think so. One, it's actually a very exciting time to be an AAC product developer at least, and I think just to take Aditi's point, she talked about how she's using this predictive text. I think when we have this conversation, if we have to play this conversation, say in 2 years' time, it's going to be very different. The kind of things that Aditi is going to be mentioning there um, would definitely change as well, because that's one, like it's like that's how fast the technology space is moving in this, like this assistive technology space is moving as well with all the new development. So just to give an example, um, uh, one key feature, one key kind of like place where you see a lot of potential is like how Deepika mentioned about this um, uh, people going to the mall, and how do you kind of destigmatize AAC? Like, so what is stigma there? And what is stigma here? The stigma is that it takes a lot of time to communicate and tap every word and communicate, and people may lose patience, may not be kind of like start getting itchy because of that silence when the AAC user is typing it. That silence is uncomfortable, and so then the AAC user just ends up shortening their thought or not communicating altogether. So you lose that entire kind of um, opportunity of communication, right? So how can technology help? Can you speed up communication in a way where it is kind of like it is not as slow as typing, like selecting every word, and but can you speed up technology using large language models, using some sort of like AI? Can you speed up that communication for them? But at the same time, you're not taking over their thoughts, but you're using it as a tool for their thoughts, right? So it's used uh, as a mean to accelerate the communication of those thoughts. You're not you can use the context. So the device knows Aditi is in a restaurant. The device may know that Aditi likes to order a particular type of food when she goes to that restaurant. So based on that, can the device automatically predict certain things? Then based on how the conversation goes, the device can potentially hear, like everyone's hearing, everyone's devices are hearing. The device can hear and say predict some things for Aditi, right? So that can speed up this whole thing. So ideally, you want this webinar to also have where AAC users are communicating at the same rate, right? So that is the possibility in the very near future is what we strongly believe, and I really think that we are like we will be building such technology products very soon, and we have already started kind of building doing out some of those tests with some kind of internally as well. I think that's one aspect where you have personalization, and then you have the ability to kind of uh, provide that contextual prediction to speed up communication altogether. And then also you want to slowly start moving towards can you think about beyond communication as well, right? Can you think about AAC not as okay, I can speak, I can have this conversation, but can I have a conversation so that say it goes ahead and does the next level of things for me, right? So type out an email in a response to this, or book me an Uber. So can you kind of and then have that conversation with the Uber driver through that. So that's the kind of future that we will be living in the next few years, and I think that if more people go out there, like we need not wait for all of this also, but I think more people see AAC being used, low tech, high tech, whatever. I think that stigmatization will continue to reduce. I think we as a community should really kind of think how can we break that stigma in terms of how can we get out more, right? So the only reason, like for example, things got popular, wheelchair got popular, but more people got into like you could see more wheelchairs. Oh, then you start people. There is that kind of like slow threshold that you hit, right? And I think it's really upon us to think about as a community, like how do you get more public events where AAC users are there, are out and about communicating, and it's okay. And we have enough technology supports for them to do even now. So I think so stigma can be broken with a lot of support from technology as well, but it also takes the kind of like the power of the community to do a kind of and build kind of that entire thought process. I think, and one technical aspect of I feel what the future can offer is how can AI and kind of like whatever however you want to address AI, machine learning, large language models, can it really help how can it help parents, right? So our AAC is not something that's very like it's not out of the box. You open the app and everything doesn't fall into place immediately today. But can you bring that process? Can you bring that onboarding for parents or families wherein they see that they open Avas and they're like, oh, okay, I know what to do next. I know what to do next. Can the app is going to guide me or something else is going to guide me? That's where kind of like the entire layer of artificial intelligence would come in, and that's important, and that's the will go back and connect to the point of how do you have successful intervention that will kind of connect back to that. So we as an organization and these tools want to give the AAC user the authenticity, the ability to communicate what they want to say when they want to say it as quickly as they want to say it. At the same time, you're also wanting the families and the professionals around them to ensure that they are able to facilitate that success, right? So the technology can really do a lot of wonders there. So, for example, things as simple as like Deepika was talking about modeling, and those are things that in day-to-day interactions, it's not easy to reinforce. Like, so can you have some sort of like a coach or a guide that can help you do that? So those are the aspects which is very exciting. So when we have this conversation, say even like 12 or 18 months down the line, this is going to look very different and very exciting.
So it's like having a built-in communication partner for parents as well.
Oh yeah, a coach. Yeah,
will in turn coach the parents to become an effective communication partner for their child. And like you said, so many situational predictions will also help. And then Aditi has been commenting. She's very excited about this feature, which will speed up the rate of communication. And we know that's a very big challenge for non-speakers. So we have other AAC users also share that it's never, on par with the speakers, because it's going so fast, speech is going so fast, and then they always get left behind.
Yeah.
And also for people like Aditi who are into writing and engaging with communities as a speaker, as an advocate, I think these features are going to be really helpful. So Aditi has something very interesting to share. So we asked her about her dream features, and I'm just going to read this out. This is the answer given by her. I'd like to believe I'm rather an influential communicator who can communicate very well for the most part. So what I have now is working well for me. But I also believe assistive technology is an exciting space whose future endeavor should be to support those with high support needs, meaning individuals who have medical comorbidities. Like, we know that autism comes with a lot of co-conditions, medical and health-wise. So eye gaze technology excites me, she says, and she says she has another idea. The smart devices like smart watches are great ways to measure biomarkers like heartbeat, blood, ECG, etc., and outliers. These could be an indication of sickness, right? We have many individuals in the autistic community who have high support needs who are unable to figure out bodily sensations like pain and other issues. If these individuals can wear smart devices, and if this can be connected to AAC app. So for example, in case of an outlier, AAC device gets an alert, which in turn raises an alert by sending a message to the primary caregiver. So this feature can surely help identify and treat conditions that impact the ability to lead life as normally as possible. So also, I mean, when I heard this, I also connected it to the interoception challenges that autistic individuals have. Alexithymia is a term that is used where they either have hyposensitivity. If they have hyposensitivity, they are not able to. Many individuals struggle with understanding their bodily sensations, and hence they are not able to express what is going on. So I think this is a very interesting suggestion and an idea.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So Deepika, would you like to add on to any dream features from SLP's point of view?
Yeah, so amazing and fascinating to listen to Narayanan and Aditi. So a couple of things that came to my mind when Narayanan mentioned about the rate of conversational turn taking for AAC users who speak with speaking individuals. So one of the hindrances with the current technology is the fact that it takes time to complete your conversational turn, and as a result, and an unfamiliar communication partner or a communication partner who is not equipped to work with or to interact with an AAC user gets impatient and feels that the AAC user is somehow slower and hence less capable, which then adds to the stigma that we are all trying to deal with and address. So because individuals who use AAC think as fast as, or probably faster than, so-called speaking individuals. So it's just that their technology doesn't allow them to keep pace with those thoughts, which is why the process of conversation gets that much more time taking, and from unfamiliar communication and partners perspective, laborious. So that then, like Narayanan says, makes the AAC user constrain their thoughts or give up on thoughts, which then again gives the impression that they're not cognitively able to interact, which is not the case at all, and we know it. So it's a vicious cycle. So that's where I think intuitive technology, context-aware technology through AI and large language models that Narayan mentioned, and sensors or some technology that identifies the contextual environment of the AAC user, identifies the communication partner in some sense, and then helps this communication to be more on the go, more spontaneous, more natural, less time consuming, and obviously more personalized. So all of this will happen when the intuitive aspect of technology takes over, which I guess AI will do, is just a matter of time. So just as how we look for naturalness in the communication, so that is the aspirational aspect of what we would like AI to do. Naturalness, not just in the tonality and the emotions that Avaz has also addressed, but also naturalness in the way and the speed at which it takes place. So that's one aspect that I think should address the stigma to a large extent. And somehow, if there is some listening capability that the technology has, then again, speed will get enhanced. So all of these will contribute to making sure that the stigma around AAC is actually just completely vanishes. So
technology playing the role of a partner in terms of reciprocal communication.
yes, and increasing the reciprocity and the naturalness. And the other point is about, I'm thinking of an AAC buddy. So I'm not sure if that is the term, but you could think of that as a term, where an AAC buddy that serves as a natural communication partner, a coach, a friend to the AAC user, as well as in some way supporting the caregivers in the environment. So that's something, if AI can do for us in the future, it would be something that will have greater uptake amongst everyone.
Very exciting developments to look forward to. Thank you for sharing. And so we'll close by sharing Aditi's message. So we asked her what message she has for parents and other stakeholders. I'm going to read it out. So I just want to say that for some of us, this is the most reliable form of communication, something that we use all day to express everything. So honoring all forms of communication, not just speech, should be the way forward in every home environment and elsewhere, everywhere else. Every company should take suggestions from end users, and she's paid a compliment to Avaz. This is where I believe Avaz is doing a good job. So thank you, Aditi, for your message, and thank you for taking the time and effort to answer the questions and share your perspectives. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, Narayanan, and thank you, Deepika, for giving us your time and sharing your perspectives. It was a very interesting conversation, and our intention hopefully has been should take shape. So I hope there were a lot of in the participants. I hope different stakeholders like parents and professionals. Hopefully, we take note of whatever we can. We take what we can from this discussion and try to implement. There were many good nuggets in this discussion. So hopefully we continue to move forward in this space. So thank you to participants for your attention, and thank you for participating in this. Thank you, everybody. Any final words from Narayanan and Deepika?
Thank you so much for inviting us. Thank you, Aditi, for what a wonderful compliment. Thank you. And it's really exciting to be a part of this conversation. I think AAC in India is at that inflection point, and we at Avaz are really honored to be part of this journey, and we're really looking forward to kind of like I said, let's do this next year again, and we'll have a very different set of conversation and very different set of ideas as well. So I think that's the exciting part, and I really think that this at least in the last 12 months, the kind of uh, just by Aditi being out there on things like LinkedIn and showing people that, and even like the Talking Fingers book, I think those are like the kind of like really the drivers of what can kind of push change. Talking about kind of addressing the stigma, all of that within kind of like even within like families who have non-speaking kids, etc. I think that's also important. So that user perspectives that Talking Fingers gave and what Aditi does and a few other users do, I think that's very like essential. Where we continue to support that, and I think that's the key. That's going to be the key driver for a lot of our behavior change as well. Yeah. So thank you for kind of like bringing all of this together and all of us together for this conversation, Anjana. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepika.
So it's been an absolute delight to be on the same panel as Narayanan and Aditi. So, and hearing two different perspectives, but extremely fascinating perspectives. Thank you, Aditi, for sharing and for doing what you do. One of the things that comes to my mind is the future is now, and we just have to embrace it. And there's a lot that's been said about AI and how threatening it is, but I think there's AI for good, and that's what we need to tap into. So, and tech for good and AI for good is the way forward.
Very well said. Aditi says, be the change you wish to see. That's my motto. And a lot of other participants also have shared, they have put in their comments. Thank you, everybody, and have a good night and have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone in the audience as well. Thank you so much.
Have a good evening, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you until next time. Bye.
Bye.